Now, at the time of this recording, in around, I don't know, 24 to 48 hours, Reed Richards is going to be released into the game along with the rest of the Fantastic Four. And so I was sitting there like, I might as well make a versus battle on him, since I do think it would be fun to make one on him. But then I thought, wait, who could I even do it against? Until I looked to one of my favorite characters in fiction, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. I'm assuming you guys already know who it is by the title and thumbnail, but if you don't, it's Monkey D. Luffy. And I think everybody can understand why I made this matchup. Although their powers aren't exactly the same, they're extremely similar. So yeah, I want to see who's stronger out of these two stretchy boys. Yes, I'll be going in depth with this video, so strap in. But before I get into the video, if you guys enjoy content like this, you know what to do, hit that like button and subscribe, as I do post content like this regularly, and to be honest, it's a win-win. You guys show me love and support, and I'll give it back to you in the form of videos. Whereas Marvel, anime, or just fiction in general, in due time I plan on covering it, so be there when I go there. But I feel like that's enough of my rambling. When I get straight into the video and see who is the better stretchy boy between Mr. Fantastic and Monkey D. Luffy. Before I do any sort of scaling, I'm going to have to cover the rules so you guys know what I'm doing this by. Now, the rules in this video are going to be extremely simple. I'm going to be using the current version of these two, since if I was to use Prime Reed and obviously Luffy hasn't reached his prime, it would be pretty unfair. So yeah, I'll be using current 616 Reed and current Elbaf Luffy. Second rule is that they'll both have access to their full bags, meaning if they have any gadgets or whatnot, they'll be able to use them. The third rule is that they're both going to be bloodlusted, and the fourth one is there's going to be a Lowballed version of this fight and then a Highballed version of this fight, and in the end I'm going to see who the real winner is. The fifth and final rule is that this fight is going to take place on Elbaf because, well, I mean, they can both stretch, so they might as well fight on a place that's really big. So with that being said, I feel like I've covered everything that I need to cover for this video, so why not get into the power scaling and see who's stronger between Mr. Fantastic and Monkey D. Luffy. Now, to begin the video, I'm going to be going over Luffy. Now, for Luffy's AP, it's pretty simple since he did destroy a country all the way back in Dressrosa, so at the bare minimum he's going to be at country level, but wait, we're not going to stop there for his AP. In One Piece, you have characters like Aokiji and then Don Chinjiao who are able to create ice continents and then destroy ice continents. Now, the reason I'm going to say for top tiers inside of One Piece, this feat should be really easy to do is because Aokiji, who is a top tier, creates that ice continent with ease, and he does it very casually, while people like Don Chinjiao, who are way below him, actually had to try it, and then you have people like Garp who are able to just one-shot him. So it's pretty easy to understand that the top tiers inside of One Piece should be at continental level at bare minimum. Now, if you really want to, you can stretch this to multi-continental, and that is mainly because Luffy is so far above him, and as I said before, Aokiji did do this really casually, but for now I'm going to put his Lowball at continental to multi-continental. So moving on from Luffy's Lowballed AP, we're going to go into his Highballed AP. Now personally, I don't use it at all, but I might as well use it since it's this type of video and we might as well have fun while we're at it. So strap in. For Luffy's Highballed AP, it mainly comes from the One Piece Earth being way bigger than ours, and as you can see on the screen, it seems like there are multiple moons or even planets circulating, and the reason we're going to say they're planets is because in the one in the top right you can see that there is a moon kind of sticking off of it. Now Oda did come out and correct the measurements, but since this is a Highballed version of Luffy's AP, I'm going to take this to the extreme, so I'm going to use the old version. So yeah, with Luffy's Highballed AP, he's either at star level or solar system level. Now moving on from Luffy's AP, we have his speed. Now speed inside of One Piece is extremely weird because they've been dodging light since pre-time skip, and you have people like Chopper who is able to dodge light at point blank range. So if you now imagine people like Luffy who have been dodging it since start of pre-time skip, and now he has future sight to add on to it, yeah, Luffy's extremely fast, so we're going to put that massively fast and then light sticker on it. Light inside of One Piece is extremely slow for some reason, since you have people like Sanji being able to run away from it and then blitz it on multiple occasions, and as we know, Luffy scales above him, so yeah. Moving on from his speed, we have his durability. Now, as we've already established inside this video, everybody that's a top tier inside of One Piece should be able to output at least continental to multi-continental level attacks, meaning Luffy's durability should be here on a low ball. Now for his Highball, it's going to be around the star level to the solar system level. And so moving on, we have his endurance, and as we all know, Luffy can endure a lot and he can last for long. That's unless he uses Gear 5, but obviously Gear 5 is going to be a factor inside this video, but yeah. Usually Luffy should be able to fight for long periods of time. I mean, we saw that against Katakuri. He did have to take breaks here and there, but yeah, he can still fight for a long period of time. and he can take a lot of damage. And so moving on from his endurance, we have Luffy's battle IQ. Now I'm not going to sit here and act like Luffy has the best battle IQ ever, but what I am going to tell you is that he can adapt on the fly and he can obviously grow throughout fights. He's not somebody that's going to stay stagnant, and he will start to notice things as the fight goes on. So with that being said, when I move into his hack section, it's probably going to be his most expansive section inside this video. Now Luffy has his Devil Fruit, and his Devil Fruit has his base, Gear 2, Gear 3, Gear 4, and then Gear 5. Luffy's Devil Fruit is pretty easy to understand, so I'm not going to explain it in an in-depth way. I'm just going to give you like the basic general consensus around it, and you guys should be able to put things together. Luffy's Devil Fruit allows him to be impervious to lightning. He can also stretch his body. He can take bullets really well, since most of them don't even cut him. He can just bounce it off of him. He can also bounce a lot of things off of him, like cannonballs and whatnot. And then he's obviously going to be susceptible to Haki based attacks and sword based attacks, or just slashing attacks. He can also take fire really well, but I think that's just more his resistance that he's gained over time than it just being a part of his Devil Fruit. And so with his base out of the way, when I get into his Gear 2. Now we know that his Gear 2 at a bare minimum is a 10 times amp from his base, and so his Gear 3 allows him to create a giant ass fist, which technically can be called the Fist of the Giants. Luffy's Gear 4 has 3 different forms. Now the whole premise around his Gear 4 is that he's able to meld his Haki and Devil Fruit into one, but his 3 forms are Bound Man, Snake Man, and Tank Man. Bounce Man allows him to bounce around and also generate more power. Snake Man is for him being extremely fast, and then Tank Man, well, it's in the name, he can tank things a lot better. And so his awakening is Gear 5, and everybody should be familiar with it, so I'm not going to go too in depth with it. But if you're not, well, the basic premise around it is he can do like Looney Tunes things, but it isn't as big as you guys may think. He can create and do things with it, like for instance he can create sunglasses or a baseball bat. That's pretty much the whole premise around it. Now when Luffy touches the ground or you, he should be able to augment it. So for instance, when he touches the ground, he can pull it up and use it as a shield, since it's going to be all rubbery. And then when he punches you, he can then obviously use his rubber powers to apply to you. And then he can also just coat his fist in Haki and also do more damage like that. Now, as I just said, I just talked about his Haki, so when I get into his Haki while we're at it. But wait, before I get into his Haki, his Gear 5 is still exhausting. He can only hold it for around 5 minutes or so. I think a little bit longer depending, but from what we know, it should be around 5 minutes. So then when you move past it, you then obviously have his Gear 4, and I don't think his Gear 4 is exhausting now, as he can use it in his base as well. So his only exhausting form right now should be his Gear 5. And so with that being said, when I move into his Haki, now Luffy has all 3 variants of Haki unlocked, so I might as well explain all of them to you. Base armor and Haki is like armor. You can obviously shield yourself a lot better with it, and you can also attack a lot harder with it. Now there are 2 advanced versions of this type of Haki. You have a mission Haki, which allows you to obviously guard yourself a lot better and punch somebody or just hit somebody in general a lot harder, since you're emitting your Haki. And then the other one, Internal Destruction, is in the name. Allows you to internally destroy somebody's insides. Now this is really effective when you're able to get past somebody's durability, but if you're not, it's not going to do nearly as much damage. Best way to put it is that you're going to be then flowing your Haki throughout somebody else, but if you can't get past that barrier, you're just going to be hitting their skin, meaning it's not going to be able to affect them that much. And so then we have Observation Haki, which is like a spidey sense, and the advanced version of it allows you to see into the future. And then finally we have Conqueror's Haki, that allows you to emit your will and knock people out, and you can destroy things around you if your will is strong enough. And then the advanced version of it allows you to coat your attacks in it, giving it a boost. And so I think that's everything I need to cover with Luffy. If there's anything else, I'll probably include it in the versus battle. So why not I get into Mr. Fantastic? Now, as I haven't spoken about reading this channel, let alone any other Fantastic Four member on this channel, I'm going to take this seriously and obviously give you guys the best that I can give you with his scaling. And so to begin, I'm going to go over his AP. Now, Reed's AP is extremely underwhelming by itself, as he should only be at around city block level to multi-city block level. Reed is able to damage Great Gargoyle and people at around this range, so yeah, he should be at around this level by himself. Now, his Highballed AP, well, I'm not going to get into that here, that's for his hack section, but just know that his Highballed AP is a little bit crazy. And so moving on from his AP, we have Reed's speed. Now for a Lowball, he should be relativistic or light speed due to being comparable to Sue Storm in terms of speed, and she's able to react to lasers. As I said, that's his Lowball. His Highball, I'm going to get to that in the hack section. I'm going to keep saying that for most of his stats. Next up is his durability, and for a low ball, Reed should be at around planetary as he's able to take an off guard punch from the Thing. And this is the exact same thing that was able to take on Great Hulk. Now I know you guys may be thinking, Kosu, why isn't his AP at this level? And to be honest, the reason it's not there is because people like Luffy and Reed can tank a lot more than they can put out due to their powers. And so moving on from his durability, we have his endurance, and Reed has great endurance. There are many feats throughout the comics of him doing crazy things, but the main one that I found was him obviously being stretched and then frozen, and he's just able to come out of that fine. Well, I wouldn't say fine, I'd say relatively okay, but with him being stretched so far and then frozen, that's like the worst thing that could ever happen to him, and he's able to come out of it. So yeah, he's got great endurance. And so moving on from Reed's endurance, we have his battle IQ. Now everybody should know, even if you don't read comics, I think you may know that Reed is damn near the smartest person inside of the Marvel Universe. Now that's in terms of his raw IQ, but the thing is that because he's so smart, it helps him in battle. And I'm not saying that Reed isn't like smart with his battle IQ alone, but because of his great IQ, it helps him out drastically in fights. Way for me to put it is, in terms of raw battle IQ, he isn't up there with the best like Captain America, Black Panther, Wolverine, and all those like top dogs in terms of battle IQ. But let's just say that with his IQ being added on, he's able to do things that allow him to stay in that region. And so with that being said, when I move to the most anticipated section for Reed, and that's his hacks. Now before I even touch on his gadgets, I want to go over his powers really quickly. And I feel like a lot of people do have this misconception about his powers, mainly obviously anime watchers and obviously manga readers, because I don't think they dabbled inside the Fantastic Four. I just want to make it very clear to you guys that Reed's power works different from Luffy's. Luffy is a rubber man. He can't do the things that Reed can do. You're going to see on the screen that Reed can do some pretty wacky stuff that Luffy can't even do. So yeah, Reed's like way of controlling his body is completely different to Luffy's. And one thing I want to add is that I don't know how far Reed can stretch. Now obviously after a certain point he does start to feel it and he's like, okay, that's starting to hurt now. But for the most part, I think he can stretch for, I don't even know how much. I tried to find an issue where it's stated, but I couldn't find anything. So if anyone in the comment section can tell me, but like, yeah, he can stretch for a pretty long distance though. Now I know there are a few extra things that Reed can do, but I don't think they need to be stated here as they're not really going to apply to this battle. So why don't I just get into his gadgets. Now this is where Reed's highball in quotation marks comes in. Now Reed has a plethora of gadgets that he's created over the years, and if I was to sit here and list all of them, we'd be here for a while. So I'm going to cover two that are like going to be very important to this battle, since I don't think I need to add any more. I mean, there are going to be a few that I may mention later, but I doubt they'll be needed. First thing that Reed has at his disposal is the ultimate nullifier. Now if you know anything about it, you know how broken it is, but for people that don't, I want to give you a very ooga booga explanation for it. He press button, he destroy universe. Now it can do way more than that, but I'm just going to keep it to that since I don't think it needs to do any more than that. And it can just erase a person. Now you should die from it, but Reed is somehow able to survive it. And so the second one is the anti-Galactus armor. Now if you know a single thing about Galactus, you know how strong this is. And so I don't really need to explain the anti-Galactus armor that much. All you need to know is that at a harsh low ball, is universal, and that's all I'm going to keep it at. Oh, and since the armor is anti-Galactus, it also does increase his speed, and he should be at massively faster than light to infinite in terms of speed, and that is me lowballing that as well. The other one I was hinting towards that I may use in this video is the chronal displacement device. And this allows Reed to stop time for 4 minutes. And I feel like with that being said, I've covered everything I need to cover about Reed. So at this point I might as well get into the fight and see who's stronger between Mr. Fantastic and Straw Hat Luffy. Now to begin, I'm going to go over the Lowballed section of this fight, and to be honest, it's extremely weird for me to put in because, well, Reed is going to be way more tanky than Luffy, but then at the exact same time, Luffy's going to be way faster than him. So how does this play out? Well, if we saw what Luffy did against the Seraphim, people who are way tankier than him but couldn't really do much to him, what did he do? He continuously attacked them until he nearly gassed himself out. And you see where I'm going with this. If he's going to continuously attack Reed, even if Reed can't react to him and Reed's just getting blitzed all about the place, he's going to be able to tank everything until Luffy tires out and he's going to be like, oh, okay. And he's going to finish off Luffy there and then. Now, if you believe through all of Luffy's hits, he should be able to damage him somehow, then I mean, cool. If Luffy's able to damage Reed somehow in your eyes, then yeah, you should be able to defeat Reed. But I don't think that's going to be possible when this guy can take off guard punches from the Thing, a planetary type monster. Like I just don't see that happening. And if you're a comics fan, you know, like, okay, well, yeah, the Thing is like whatever, but like to anime characters, the Thing is like, oh wait, that's the Thing. Even with the Lowballed version, he should have his conal displacement device and he should be able to use it on Luffy. And I don't know, if in those 4 minutes that he's given, he can somehow do something to Luffy to obviously take him out. We have seen Reed be able to bind the Thing, and as we all know, Luffy does scale below the Thing. So if he binds Luffy up, maybe he can find something in Elbaf to cook up and then deal with Luffy. I don't know. He should be able to create something in the time he's got Luffy binded up. So yeah, you could give this round to Reed or just make it a draw since they can't really do anything to each other. But yeah, I think Luffy's just gonna tire out, especially with Gear 5. And so with that being said, put a W up on the board for my boy Reed. And so now we have the highball section of this video, and this is going to be star to solar system level Luffy versus anti-Galactus armor Reed Richards. I'm trying not to laugh while saying this. Listen, there isn't really much for me to say here. What's Luffy gonna do? Try what? Attack him? I should laugh. If he's gonna try grow to however big the Galactus armor is, right? He's gonna punch Reed. Reed's gonna be like, okay, that's some cool Looney Tunes shit, but like, if you got anything else? What he did was like send me flying back a little bit. Is that it? And even then, Reed should just be able to dodge it. And like, yeah, I don't think there's much for me to even say here. If he wanted to, he can just kill himself and Luffy if he really feels petty. And don't even get me started, this was the maker Reed. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. And so now we're in the real winner section of this video, and the real winner is Reed. I mean, what else is there for me to say? And if I really wanted to be evil, I could then use the maker Reed. If you're like tapped into the comics, you know who that is, and I don't think you guys want me to do that. It's not, no. But genuinely, Reed is like one of those comic book characters where if you allow him to even use half of the stuff that he has at his disposal, he kind of just wipes out 90% of fiction. Like Reed Richards, especially with his IQ as well, Reed Richards is extremely smart. Imagine if I put this fight on Egghead. Reed would have annihilated Luffy even without the highball, because all he would have needed to do was tire him out a little bit, bind him up, run into a lab somewhere, and it would have been over for Luffy. He would have been able to cook something up, and yeah, it would have been over. So yeah, the video. Thank you guys for all the support. I was gonna be evil and use the maker against Luffy for his highball section, believe it or not. But I said, now let me chill out that, because I did say at the beginning of the video it's gonna be 616, and as we all know, 1610, the ultimate universe, and obviously 616 is 2 different universes. So yeah, I really wanted to get into more comic book scaling. I wanted to pair this up with Marvel Rivals, because as you guys know, I play the game a lot. I don't think you guys know that, but yeah, now you know. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for the support, and yeah, goodbye.